Hey everyone. Today is November the 7th. It's the 7th, 2020. Um, it is Saturday. Uh, Biden just won the election, or they announced it anyway. So everyone is very happy around here. It's nice. It's a good way to start the weekend. Um, so I'm not drawing today. Uh, I am a little. I'll draw later, but uh, after Inktober, I am a little bit wiped. So I'm gonna get back to pages on my comic, which is what we're gonna talk about today. Uh, so, for some of you who might know me already, I have a comic that I started almost 7 years ago now, called Bare Bones. It's autobiographical, and it is about uh, my 60-day stay at an eating disorder facility in Virginia. Uh, So yeah, I guess I'm gonna talk a little bit about my process. Uh, so deciding the subject matter kind of, I just didn't know what else to write that hadn't been written before. Uh, People write about their lives, not very interesting. Well, mine isn't. Well, I guess this is the most interesting part of my life. So I figured it's not a story I've read a ton of times. It's not something I have to make up. And what better to write about than what you know, which is my own life. So, this is what I write it in. I don't type my scripts. Uh, I basically, I don't even write a regular script. This is my notebook. This is how I write it. So, I guess basically it would read like a regular autobiography, but perhaps a little more disjointed. Uh, I like just like my drawing. I like writing uh, with a regular pen and paper. Ideas flow a little easier. I feel like it's a little less pressure on myself. I put a lot of pressure on myself. Uh, and anytime I used to write like fiction when I was younger, and anytime I would read it a second time, I would just delete it. So I can't really do that with paper. With a notebook, I'm not gonna rip the page out because it will fuck up the binding. But so that's how I write. I You can see it's so I have 81 pages drawn and inked, and it's only this much writing, so maybe like 20 pages of writing. So I will write probably, I do my pages, my story in probably like 8 to 12 page sections. This is the very first page. I started in 2013. Uh, so the first issue is 25 pages. Uh, you can see that the beginning is lettered. I hand lettered the first little section, which I think is 8 pages, and this is the ninth one, which is kind of a little chapter break. Um, but I started. My writing's really light. I don't have a heavy hand at all, so it was a little bit illegible with my hand inking, so I started doing digital inking. I made a font out of my handwriting, and I started doing it that way. And that is at probably about 12 pages, somewhere around there. So, so this is the first issue. All these pages, and that's about the first issue is about like basically how I ended up going to that facility. Like my parents forced me to go. So it's basically like how I got to the point where I needed to go, like right before. Not a whole history that I saved for the second issue. So the second issue is like my childhood and like when my eating disorder started, uh, my family life, and basically, yeah, just how my eating disorder started when I was 14. Um, I guess a little bit before that, I talk about struggling with depression and stuff, and then like moving to New York, I talk about moving here right 2 days before 9/11. Uh, a bunch of different stuff about being diagnosed with glaucoma. There's a nice little eyeball. He's a funny little guy. I really like those panels. It's a lot of fun. Um, so the second issue goes up to page 50, and after that second issue, I kind of go into like my first week at Bermuda. I call it something different so I don't get sued, but that's what the facility was called. Um, Basically, just like the daily life, it was really, everything was very scheduled. You know, we had to be at certain places at certain times. We ate our meals, we ate our snacks very in an orderly, timely manner. We also, part of the reason that facility is appealing is they have equine therapy, so we got to like hang out with horses and stuff. I like drawing animals. If you didn't notice, horses are great. I love drawing horses. They have great musculature. Uh, some more. That's a really cute drawing of myself. How cute is that? Um. So yeah, basically, I guess this is getting into what will be the third issue, and things are getting a little more difficult. They're feeding me a lot more and starting therapy and psychiatry, and there's a nutritionist that I had to meet, and so now I'm at another penciling stage. I did the reason I brought these out, all of them, is because I lost all my files with all the lettering on them, so I have to re-letter all of these pages. Uh, which is gonna be a challenge, a very boring challenge, but I spent an hour and a half yesterday putting the pages in order because when I moved, they all fell out of my portfolio and got mixed up. So I had to reorder them yesterday. It took a long time. So after that happened, I lost those files. I'm like, I'm never doing digital lettering again. So I started going back to hand lettering, but it's different. It's different than I went with all caps. Unlike the first part of the story, which was more like my regular handwriting, but I feel like the all caps looks a little better and it's a little more readable. So this is the last page I have done. I posted up a little while ago. I was supposed to have this printed for Mocha back in May, but that didn't happen. Here's some pages of pencils that I'm working on. So this is kind of how I work. I don't really do thumbnails. I kind of just do the writing and ponder about it for a long time before I put anything down on paper. So that's how I work. I'm probably going to be doing a lot more pages than paintings, so you might get some inking pages on these pages, inking demos, I mean. pencils I hate, and you don't want to see me drawing them because it takes me like, it'll take me at least 2 hours to do pencils. For this probably took me like 3 hours to pencil. I, I pencil very slow. Everything takes long. This is why I have 81 pages here. It's taken me 7 years. No, I've stopped to do other things, other like paying work and other people's comics, but well, there you go. Hopefully, I'll have some of these printed. Uh, my goal is for the next mocha. The lettering is going to take a long time, especially since I don't have Photoshop, so I'm going to have to figure that one out. Anyway, I hope I gave you some insight into how I work, and I'll talk to you guys soon.